I would suggest this to anybody's on social media. If you come across a video, let's say like this, you're on a live and you're scrolling on the live and there's somebody on the live that starts pulling out some prejudice, racist, sexist shit, like crazy stuff on the live. And you just come across this live and you're like, oh shit. And you get, practice it. Scan your body. I would ask you, you could do it today. Scan your body. Scan. Go, what am I feeling? Because people will be jerks. People will be mean. People will take out their shit on you. It will happen. And it's not about you. I'm not saying take it. Take the abuse. No, that is not what I'm saying at all. Set some boundaries. But when you do the body scan, you're literally paying attention not to what's happening on your outside world. You're literally paying attention to your inside world. You're becoming hyper self-aware. What am I physically feeling? And then, you know what? I'm going to go even deeper on this, and I don't talk about this on my video. You're going to start noticing where your fucking trigger pain is. So, you know, if you have lower back problems, chances are that's where you carry your stress. That's where you carry your anger. If you have knee problems, that could be all of a sudden when you're angry, because you may not know it. This started happening to me like crazy. I had a lot of stomach issues growing up. All my surgeries were in my stomach and everything. And I noticed for me, when I had anxiety, anger anxiety, you know, the ones that when you don't know how to respond, you're like, anger anxiety, it totally was in my stomach. Completely hit my stomach all the time. Are we always self-projecting? I think it's a combination of both our inner and outer situations. No, so I describe it. I talk about it in my book. It's called How to Own Your Shit, Mastering Self-Projection. We are always emotional self-projecting. There's 4 types of projection. There's 3 types that we don't always do, but there's 1. Emotional self-projections, always. We always emotionally self-project. But there's knowledge, presumption, and absolved self-projections. We don't always do that. There are physical ones that we don't always do those types. Thank you, Francesco. Self-projection is saying what I see in you is a reflection of me. What I feel about you is a reflection of me. So if I see a narcissist, there's a type of self-projection called absolved self-projection. So if I see a narcissist and if I walk around and I'm like, everybody's a narcissist, everybody's narcissist, chances are that could be an absolved self-projection, that I'm actually a narcissist. I'm just noticing everybody else is a narcissist. And it doesn't necessarily mean the whole narcissist. It could be like, I have a lack of empathy. I have that. It could be that. Emotional self-projections have to do with how do you feel about a narcissist? Me, I'll give an example. If I see a child PED, okay, PEDO, if I see that, I can't stand them. That's my first thought. I can't stand them. Sometimes I can't stand myself? Yes. Sometimes I'm really angry at myself. Sometimes I can't stand myself. Do you know what I mean? So it's not if I see a PED, it makes me one. That sometimes that it is for people. Like, let's say there are some undiagnosed narcissists that call everybody a narcissist, and they're like, you're a gaslighter, and they are. That's called an absolved self-projection. Again, not everybody does that. But every single one of us on this lie all the time does emotional self-projections. Those are usually used with adjectives. Adjective is what I see in you is usually what I feel about myself. The assumptions that you make about others, usually used with adjectives, are usually reflections of how you feel about yourself. So how do I feel about narcissists? How do I, like, if I see a zebra, I'm not a zebra, but how do I feel about zebras? Like that, the feeling, emotional self-projections, we do that all the time because we couldn't feel something if the emotion was not present within us. And I even address this in the book because there's a lot of people who say, I hate negative people. I can't walk around negative people. Well, if you have a hard time and it triggers you, the book is about healing. It's saying what you feel about others is a reflection of you. If you walk into a room and somebody is visibly angry and he said, "Are you angry?" And they're like, "Yes, I'm," and they're being negative, they're like, "Oh, okay, that's a fact." Fact is, you noticed that they were angry factually. But if you walk into a room and you're like, "I could feel the energy and the vibe, and I feel that everybody's negative and I'm going to leave," you cannot feel things that are not president that are not present within you. You think it's because we want to guess their feelings, the projections? Um, I don't necessarily think it's because we want to guess what other people are feeling. I think we have a natural judgment within ourselves that now, as a community, when we see people that are negative, crying, sad, angry, and low vibe or whatever, we judge. It's like because the collective, everybody says, "Don't be negative, don't cry, don't this." And this actually happened. My nephew started crying. It was the cutest thing ever. My nephew was like kind of playing around with my dad, and my dad goes like said something, and then the dog JJ, he's old and everything, and he growled at my nephew just like "Wah!" And my nephew falls on the floor. He's 3 years old, and he starts crying. He's crying and crying, and I went to see him. I said, "Are you okay?" What? I know. I said, "What happened?" And he goes, Opie's my dad, his grandpa. He goes, "Opie, it hurts my feelings in my heart. He hurts in my feelings in my heart." And he's going like this. And I was like, "Oh my God, he's so cute. I can't handle the." So I said, "Dad, you hurt his feelings." And he goes, "Oh, I'm sorry." And he grabs him and he goes, "It's okay. Big boys don't cry." I went, "Hey, it's 2023. He goes, "Oh, I'm sorry. You can cry. You can cry as much as you need to cry." My dad's brain is wired. Like, think about it. His natural response was, "Big boys don't cry." That was the first thing. Like, he didn't know what to do. So he goes, "That's okay. Big boys don't cry." And I was like, right away, I was like, "Hey, 2023, dude. 2023. Big boys cry. It's fine. Big boys can cry. Everybody can cry. Humans can cry." But it was funny because he went, "Oh, yeah." Like, my dad forgot. And he goes, "Oh, yeah, you can cry." And he said it. And I go, but I thought about it. I go, it's crazy how ingrained as a society it is to not cry. So you're not supposed to cry. You're not supposed to be negative. So if you walk into a room, okay, yeah, it's the automatic thinking. Exactly, Francesco. The automatic thinking that my dad had, the automatic response was, "Big boys don't cry." The programming, exactly. It was just like his subconscious was like, "Oh no, big boys don't cry." So he just said it. But he realized, his conscious mind said, "Oh shit, that's not true. Everybody can cry. What is this?" So he said, "It's fine." And I realized, I'm like, think about all of us. We all grew up in a time where big boys don't cry, guys don't cry, stop crying, don't be negative. And now we're feeling that with women, like, "Women, why are you crying? Don't cry. You're too much. You're too emotional. Don't be emotional. Don't cry." So then you walk in to a room and there's like people that you feel that are negative. Let's say they are. Let's say you're right. Okay. Let's say you walk into a room and you feel the negative energy. That is still a self projection. Even if you're right and a bunch of people are negative, that is still a self projection. You cannot feel other people's emotion if you don't have that feeling within you. So if you sit there and say, "Maybe I'm feeling negative. That's interesting." Don't judge it. Don't judge your negative. Just like you wouldn't judge my little nephew's 2-year-old negative feelings. Don't judge your own feelings. And you're like, "Okay, that's interesting. What can I do?" Well, I'm going to show myself compassion. I'm going to show right now, if I'm feeling negative, okay, well, I'm going to give myself compassion right now. It's okay to be negative. It's okay temporarily. And you'll notice in the room, you're having compassion for other people. Waiting your book. Really? I'm enjoying your book. Oh, I'm glad you are, Laura. Empaths feel other people. Just because, yes, but empaths feel it just because you're. My friend said this to me all the time. My friend says all the time, "I'm an empath. I just feel people's energy." You cannot feel an energy that is not within you. You cannot feel it if it is not within you. And you want, Ryan, you want to hear something crazy? I'm going to help you if you're an empath. So I used to be an empath. Well, I'm still an empath, okay? I'm still very much an empath. I will walk in, I go shopping, and I could feel the intense energy of people. And it gets me, oh my God, it's a lot. You know what's cool though? When you start saying, oh, I'm an empath, I feel people's energy, that's it. Too bad for me. I'm just an empath, I just feel people's energy. You're saying other people have more power than you. You are saying that other people are, their power, their energy is stronger than yours, that it affects you. In the book, I explain, and I have a whole chapter on it, on how to empower your energy as an empath. Because if you are somebody, and we're all born empaths, by the way, we're all born empaths. Think about this. A little baby, if there's a loud noise or everything in the room, the baby is like, babies are hypersensitive to things. Growing up, we're all born empathetic. We're all born, we feel the energy of our mom, of our dads, of our family members. We feel it. We're all born like that. Some people don't have that, they lose it. And some people become very cold. And some people have a trauma response. I was somebody who had an alcoholic and a drug abuse father. So I became a hyper empath. I had to mold to my dad's feelings. Like my dad had feelings, he had emotion, and I had to like mold, like, oh, what is my dad? Did he drink? If he drank, he's in a good mood. If he didn't drink, then he's in a bad mood. And I had to like, so I became, it's a trauma response of becoming a hyper empath. So what happened, my book title is How to Own Your Shit. Sorry, it's upside down. I know it's upside down, but it's How to Own Your Shit. You could just go on Amazon and you write Tanya Beauty Coach. Tanya Beauty Coach, and the book will just appear. You'll see it says Mastering Self-Projection. So if you are an empath, as I was, and I used to be just every time I didn't know how to handle my energy. And you know what I used to do? I used to go and take baths, salt baths. I tried to do the witch, like I would put like spells on myself to try to intensify, like, how do I do this? And I realized by owning my self projections, if I walk into a room and I see negative people and I feel the negative energy, that means that I am feeling it is within me. That means their energy, I'm feeling it. So what do? Compassion. Compassion is the highest form of love. If I give myself compassion, I'm able, as within, so without. I extend that compassion to other people. And now their energy and they could be very negative, they could be, but their energy will no longer affect my energy because I'm just filled with compassion. So if, let's say, they're negative, I could have compassion and say, hey, how you feeling? Yeah. And if that day I don't feel like I can't give compassion, let's say I walk into a room and there's a lot of negative people and I go, you know what? I can't deal this. I cannot today. My energy is not strong enough today. So I'm going to give myself compassion. I'm going to set some boundaries for myself and I'm going to step away from this situation. You're giving compassion to yourself again, but you're not judging people. You're not saying, oh, negative people give me negative. No, the more you empower your energy with love and compassion, you no longer have the trauma response empath. You are no longer this, well, I just take people's energy and that's just what I am. You're now empowering your energy and you're able to walk into a room. And I say this in the book because I'm telling you, try this even once. Once. When you walk into a room or you're shopping, okay? Let's say you're shopping and you walk into a store and you feel a negative vibe. You feel it right away. Instantly, you're like, I feel the negative energy. That's because you have it. It is within you. You're just assuming that there's an energy there. So that means your assumptions and your feelings are yours. So you're like, okay, even if people are negative, it's still also you. So you say, okay, I'm going to give myself compassion. No joke. I am not joking. I'll tell you a personal story. I went to a party. I walked into a room. It was very negative. I felt it right away. Do you know that as soon as I gave myself compassion and I was able to extend that compassion to others, the 3 people that I felt that were like negative kind of thing, I didn't see them for the rest of the party. They went in another room, then they went upstairs. And every time I entered a room, they were not around me. And I went, oh my God, my vibration, my empath, my love is so strong for myself that whoever is negative is not going to come around. Now, at the end of the party, I was tired, everything, and somebody came and they were pretty rude and mean and they were critical and they were judging people. And it was funny because it was a spiritual girl and she started shaming people for not believing in astrology. She's like, guys, how do you not believe in this stuff, in vibrations of like an astro? And she started shaming. And I looked at her and I said, I hear what you're saying. I understand what you're saying. Because right away, instead of getting mad, I was like, I hear you. And I validated because I was able to have compassion for the negative person. Immediately, she calmed down. Immediately, she just went like it was like, no, don't you guys, and she was going like this, and you know, in the universe, and she's going like this, and I said, I hear you. Some people don't resonate with that. I believe it, but you know, in astrology does affect us and stuff like that, but some people don't, and that's okay. And she's like, yeah, and that's it. But I'm able to do that if I do it to myself, and I cannot have compassion for myself if I don't own my self projections. If I cannot acknowledge that the negative I see in others is in me, I am not becoming self aware. And if I'm not self aware of my body, of my feelings, my emotions, I can't have compassion for myself. And if I don't have compassion for me, it's as within, so without. If you have a cup of water filled with water, you can give some water to people. You can say, hey, I have so much water in my cup that I can give it to you. If you walk into a room and your cup is empty because you're not validating yourself, you're not, have no self-awareness, you're not acknowledging, and you're pointing the finger at others, and you don't see where the other three fingers are pointing at. You're just saying they're like this, they're negative, they're like this, they're like that. You're not acknowledging your own feelings. And it's hard. People don't acknowledge their feelings because they think they're a bad person. You're not a bad person if you're negative. Sometimes people are negative. I lost my aunt. I lost my grandmother. I was pretty negative during those times. Hi, April. I was pretty negative. I was mourning. I was grieving. I was going through the process, and I went out and I was doing stuff. And it's okay to be negative. The only time that you say, "Oh, energy, it affects me and everything," and I understand that because I remember I used to come home. I don't know what it was. It was specifically Winners. I have a good relationship with Winners now, but before, I remember I used to go to Winners and it was in a big shopping mall. And around Christmas, oh my God, don't ask me to go shopping on Christmas. And it was like people were there. And I was like, people, I can't deal with people. And then it was like people are like hyper and all that energy, I was drained. I'm like, oh my God, I need to take a bath. I need to ground myself. I need to like salt bath crystal. Like I used to use external ways to ground myself. I was like, oh, I got to put my feet in the ground. And it's okay to use water, salt, and grounding yourself, putting your feet on the ground. It's okay to use external ways. But the best way to reclaim your energy is body scans. Like I said, what am I physically feeling in my body? If you walk into a place and you feel negative, you say, where am I physically feeling negative? I feel it in my stomach. And if you say, if I see negative in others, maybe it's in me. And then all of a sudden your stomach hurts. You're like, oh, interesting. Instead of going, oh no, why do I have a stop with the, oh no. Interesting. That's where I carry my shame, or that's where I carry my fear, is in my stomach. Or maybe your throat. You'll start to cough. Oh, my shoulders. I feel it in my jaw. I'm very tense in my jaw when I say, okay, so this is where I carry the self-projection. Interesting. All you're doing is you're not trying to fix yourself. You're not trying to fix others. You're not trying to change. You're releasing control, and you're loving yourself, and you're accepting yourself, and you're validating yourself, and you're empowering your own energy. I thought the microphone stopped for a second. I was like, imagine I just said all that. Wait, Tanya, we can't hear you. I haven't been able to hear you for the last 20 minutes. What? So, and like I said, I was a very, very big trauma response empath. Yeah, very big. But that's why a lot of people get really mad at self projections. They're like, I'm not self projecting. I'm not, I swear I'm not self. We all self project, but we don't self project physical things when facts disagree with it. Like emotions, you're always self projecting. Emotional stuff, always. If you could say, how do I feel about this person? And you could test it on yourself. How do I feel about this person? I hate them. Have I ever hated myself? Yes. I feel, if you ever look at someone, ew, they're ugly. Have I ever felt ugly? Yes. You're not a bad person. You're not a bad person for owning your self projections. You're just becoming self aware. That's all it is. And when you become self aware, you empower yourself and you no longer feel the need to judge people because you're like, if I'm judging them, maybe it's because a part of me is judging myself. So then you're like, ooh, why am I being a judgy McJudgerson? Understand? What about a person that's always negative, criticizing, gossiping, putting others down, and I don't like to be around them? Well, that's not negative. That's like toxic. So there's a difference between negative, people just being negative, and then people being really like toxic negativity. But toxic negativity is when somebody is hypercritical and always like, let's say you're sitting with someone and this used to happen to me. I'm telling you though, when you find out about self projection, you'll notice the people around you are going to kind of start switching up a bit. So I had someone before, and I'll just tell you who it is. My dad. My dad was very critical. He would look, we'd be watching something on TV and they're like, oh my God, look how fat this person, look how ugly, look at her face. And I was like, who are you to, like, I would get really triggered. I was like, because every time I was with my dad and we'd be hanging out, he'd look at people and he's like, blah, 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 critical. So my dad now does not do that anymore because he read my book. He knows about self rejection and he's like, oh shit. So when you start to know about self projection, okay, and what happened is I started talking about self projection to my dad a few years ago. And I was like, the emotional feeling that you feel, could you be feeling that about yourself? So I just asked, instead of saying, you're projecting, because nobody wants to hear that. Oh, you're projecting. If you start saying, so do you feel that way about yourself sometimes? Do you ever feel like that about yourself? And he goes, yeah. So I started asking him that over and over. So if you can set some boundaries for yourself, which I again talk about it, the people who have the toxic negativity, you can set some boundaries and say, like, okay, I need to walk away from this. This is too much. But you can ask them, you can still have compassion. If you're starting to get triggered, that could be because a part of you is judging them. You're literally judging them from judging. You are self projecting. I did it too. Trust me, guys, I did it too. I judged my dad for judging because he's being critical of the people. And then I'm looking at him going, can you please? I'm literally self projecting. I'm judging my dad for judging. So I'm like, what does that do in life? It doesn't help. So instead, when you become aware, yeah, you're aware. You're like, I know, I'm aware that I'm judging. So it's okay to be aware. You're just like, okay, I'm judging them. If you can't handle it that day, then walk away. And you're like, I can't, just like, hey, I'm going to come back later. You can switch subjects. You can do that. If it doesn't work, if it doesn't work, yeah, you just walk away. If you're in the mood and you feel a little like, I'm strong today, I can have some compassion, you can ask them, are you feeling good today? How are you feeling? Mirroring, exactly. Are you feeling good today? How are you feeling? Are you feeling uncomfortable? How has your weight been? Like, you can bring up kind of like planting a seed of self-awareness. So the more I started doing this with my dad, the funniest thing happened. And I said this in a few lives ago, but I'm going to mention, we had a disagreement in my family. But because everybody now knows about self-projection, we're all aware of it. It was the best fight ever. Well, not fight, it was a disagreement. So there's my dad, my daughter, and me. And my dad looks at my daughter and he goes, what's going on with your hair? No, with your hair? Was he criticizing her hair? I think it was her hair. He goes, what's going on with your hair? That's stupid. A stupid thing on the thing. You're stupid. Started criticizing her hair. And then she says, Opie, are you not feeling good? And he goes, actually, I've been feeling really crappy about myself. Like I gained some weight and I'm tired. I don't have as much energy. So I'm probably projecting that onto her. And then she goes, well, I'm annoyed at you right now because I'm annoyed at my schoolwork. So I'm probably projecting my annoyance on you. And I don't even like I'm I was just sitting there, like I'm listening to this going, this is fucking awesome. This is the best conflict. I was like, it was instead of taking it, my dad owned his shit. How to own your shit. I swear to God, like I was like, if I had a camera right now, this would be the best to sell my book. My dad projected on my daughter, and my daughter was being rude with my dad. And then she said, well, I'm being rude because I am stressed for school. And my dad's like, well, I gained some weight and I've been heavy and I'm feeling more tired. So I projected that onto you. Basically, that's what it is. And I went, self-awareness. So it's not about being perfect. Again, I know Wyla likes that quote when I say that. And I got to get a t-shirt. It's not about being perfect. It's just about being aware. We don't have to be perfect. We don't have to not judge. We don't have to not be critical sometimes. It's just about awareness. Become aware of that you're feeling crappy, so you're putting it on other people. And your response, I say that at least once a week. That's all it is. And it's so nice. Think about it. You don't have to be perfect. And when somebody says to me, well, you're self projecting, I'm like, yeah, all the time. I know. I know. There's some shit that I'm still projecting. If I get annoyed at someone on a live, I know that day I'm not feeling as good. Sometimes, like yesterday, actually yesterday I was not, because remember I told you guys that Sunday I had a really hard Sunday. It was a lot of emotions. I was pretty angry. Well, the Monday was like a residue of those emotions, and I was exhausted last night. Again, I went to bed at like 7, and I go, thank God I don't have to go. Thank God it's not Tuesday and I don't have to go live, because I would be snapping and blocking every. I am not. I cannot handle that. I would self project all kinds. Yeah. So, but forgiving is very important. You can forgive people. It's very important. Forgiveness is important, but not for the other person. Because some people think that forgiveness means they can cross your boundaries. You can forgive people and they can either not be in your life, or you can set some healthy boundaries. And I forgave my dad before he even stopped drinking, before he went to rehab. I sat there, but I didn't forgive my dad and say, hey, I'm forgiving you, and you could still treat me like shit. No. And you could still talk to me. No, I forgive you, but I have boundaries. You can do that. You can set boundaries, or you can have not somebody in your life. Forgiveness is not for the other person, it's for you. Here's the cool part. When you empower yourself and you own your projections and you own your shit, you now know that everybody else is self-projecting. So when somebody comes to you, and you could start a TikTok page and not care about strangers cussing you out online. The amount of people that shamed me on the video that I talked about how I was dealt bad cards when I was young, and my dad said to me, it's not about the cards you dealt, it's the game you're playing. Like you can have a bad hand, but you can still play the game, right? Right, JJ? Sorry, he's crying now. So he's like, my dad said that, and people go, oh, you're blonde, blue, green eyes. First of all, I have green eyes. Just make it clear. Some people think I have blue. I think today they're like gray, but anyway, they're usually green eyes. So like, oh, you're blonde. What kind of problem? And people are so mean online. I zero. I don't take any of that personal, because in my head, they're having a bad day. Maybe they feel like, I don't know. I don't know. I don't try to assume what it is, but I'm like, whatever it is, there's no happy person who would look at that video and go like, if they're not, and I could see everybody who wrote, oh my God, this and that and that. And I'm like, oh, they're projecting. Everybody's projecting. So whether they wrote nice things or mean things, they're gray. Are you talking about aliens? Oh, my eyes are gray. CC is like, of course Tanya would bring up aliens. I'm projecting. I think about aliens every day. So Somebody says gray, I'm like, aliens? That's what I mean. Self projection happens all the time because everything that we feel and think comes from our brain. Everything. Yes. And we also self project, Erica, the good stuff. So if somebody, you would think that too. Cece's like, we're always thinking of aliens. Some people say, how come if I see beautiful, let's say, Tanya, you have beautiful eyes, but I don't think my eyes are beautiful. First of all, it's not the eyes, it's the projection is beautiful, the word beautiful. But you're like, how come I could see people that are beautiful, but I don't see myself beautiful? I don't think I'm beautiful, but I could see that other people are beautiful. Just like some people cannot recognize the negative in others that they have, people are like, no, if I see negative in others, I don't have it in myself. Yes, you do. If you see beauty in others, it's because there's a part of you that feels beautiful. It's buried in your subconscious, but it's there. So there's a part of you that feels that beauty. And if you recognize the self projection, you can be happy and say, wow, maybe today I feel beautiful. Maybe today I feel good. That's okay. There you go. I'm having a good self loving day. All right, cool. And you acknowledge it. Again, it's not about being perfect. It's not about anything. It's just awareness of it. I start feeling I can control how I feel about it. No need to react for someone's negativity. Well, but why control how you feel about it? See, that's why I said sometimes when we don't react, the way you react is what gives you power. Fight, flight, freeze. Those three things, the way you respond to people is what gives you your power back. Because when you get angry, you're losing control. So you want to gain control. So if you say, I'm not going to react to people's negativity, what you're doing is by not reacting and being calm is how you get control. If you say, well, I'm just going to walk away to people's negativity, how you respond is how you regain control. Because when we're angry or when we're upset, something bothers us, we want to control. The reason I kept saying to you guys, if you stop the fight, flight, or freeze and you start doing body scans, you're no longer controlling yourself or others. There's no control involved because right now, that's one of the biggest problems in the world. We can't control ourselves, so we try to control others. We can't control others, so we try to control ourselves. It's constant. The control aspect is still there. So when you're doing a body scan, when you're angry, if somebody is upsetting you and you sit there and you say, how am I feeling physically? And you just kind of like, and you do the body scan, you're like, okay, I feel it in my chest. I feel it in my arms and you're now not paying attention to control. You're just surrendering, releasing it. You're releasing control and you're saying, okay, I'm going to just focus and give myself some love and validation right now. And then because you're calm, because you just did a body scan and validated yourself, you can look at the other person and say, I'm really upset right now. I'm going to can we talk after when I'm calmer? You have no idea how your brain waves go because high beta brainwaves is survival. Fight, flight, or freeze is survival. You are going to want to do something to gain control. So by you staying very serious, straight, I have no time to deal with, that's my control. You're still in the ego mind of control. So if you're body scanning and you calm down, the high beta brainwaves, which are exactly like a lion that's about to pounce on a gazelle, like the lion that's like sitting there and is about to attack, you're like that because you're control is stiffness. It's like, I'm not going to respond, I'm going to walk away. Like instead of doing that, you're still in your thoughts, you're still in your emotions. Right away you do the body scan. What am I feeling? Yeah, you do try to control the feelings. So we just go, okay, I'm going to do a body scan now. And again, as I said before, if you try to do this when you're angry, it's not going to work. You have to do this today and tomorrow and the next day. Like a basketball player. If you have never played basketball and then all of a sudden somebody puts you in the NBA, you're fucked. You don't know what to do. You're like, I can't dribble. Blah, 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 blah. The same thing now. if you do body scans every morning for yourself, just do it. You could do it right now. What am I feeling physically? I'm just going to do a body scan. Do it tonight. Do it tomorrow. Start practicing every day, just doing body scans. You'll notice that when you're angry with someone or you're upset or you're in traffic and you're like, that motherfucker cut me off, whatever it is, you're going to go clink. Your brain will go body scan. Like it's going to be like automatic. You won't even need to think. Like when you're an adult, you know how to walk because it comes natural to you. If you know how to eat, you learn how to chew and how to do all that. Are you okay? You learn how to do that because it comes natural. So you need to do something that comes natural. So the more you do body scans when you're in the fight, flight, control, I need to control my response and how I'm going to, because how do I regain my power? Right away, emotional regulation. CEO of myself. Well, that's amazing, CEO. I hope you're doing well today. So just again, I'm going to post the video tomorrow. You'll be able to save it if ever you're like, oh, I forgot, what did Tanya say? But I would try practicing it every day. Every day, just practice doing body scans. Physical, not like, what am I emotionally feeling? Screw that. When you're angry, you can't say, I feel angry. I feel like I want to rip your head off. Like, you know what I mean? You can't talk about your emotions when you're angry. You're too much in survival. You're like, so survival is saying, what am I physically feeling? And you drop the fear, you drop that. Your brain waves are from high beta survival. They go down to low beta brain waves. You're able to be calm. And then you could look at the person. And now you're doing it in a kind way, saying, I'm really upset. I'm just going to take some time. I'll be back. You're not dismissing them. You're not cutting them off. What's the matter? What's the matter, little guy? I think I'm going to have to let you guys go. I think he's having like a little bit of a panic attack or something. He needs his melatonin. His little dementia. He's having a hard night. So I'm going to go take care of this little guy. He's just starting to cry now, and I don't know what's going on. He's old. He has maybe a couple of years left. He's 14 and the doctor said he doesn't have much left. So he has dementia. He has his little diaper is on here. He's wearing a little diaper here. Because again, it's not about not feeling negative emotions. It's about how to. It's not about not feeling negative. It's how to feel negative. So you don't go into the toxic negativity. And then you're toxic positive because you don't want to feel the toxic negative. So to find that emotional regulation and that balance, I'm going to post the video tomorrow. I love you guys. I'm sorry for cutting the live short. I usually go live for another half hour. But you know, my little guy needs my attention now. I will be live Tuesday, tea time with Tanya. Okay, love you guys. Thank you for being on the live.